Welcome everybody to episode 2 of the XCast. Today I am joined by Reese, and as we spoke in the last podcast, we'll be joined by two players from the league. This week, our special guests this week are Cytrak and Henskii. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Definitely excited to be here.
Definitely appreciate you guys taking the time out. So I want to start off, as we started off last week, we kind of went a little bit round table discussing who everybody was. So with that said, Cytrak, we'll start with you. Give us a little bit of info, who you are in relation to XCal.
Let's see. I've got my hand in mini pots, which is funny as I try to stay away from the devil's lettuce. But let's see. I like to cast, so you'll find me on stream trying to talk about the game. I find that to be really exciting, and I'm also the captain of the best team in the Discord. Absolutely.
Wow, nah.
Shots fired already.
Oh wow! We're coming out the gate swinging. Let's get it. Also, I'll be officiating some maps sometimes. Some matches. So you might just see me hosting up or just spectating a game or whatever it is. And then I also like to produce some dank memes and critique other memes and get some banter going and get people riled up. I like to do a little bit of everything in the Discord, but that's what I mainly do.
Very nice.
So hi, I'm Henskii. I'm sort of newer to competitive Call of Duty. I joined XCal during at the very start of the first season as a solo, and there I found a player who I'm teaming with this season who's Butu, and so definitely I've just sort of been making my way, just interacting with the community, playing tens, interacting in Discord probably more often than I should, but I used to be hold some sort of role as a Discord manager, but gradually that phased out, and nowadays you can sort of see me frequently trolling kids that ever come over from gang battles and start talking a little bit of smack to the community.
Love to say it.
Now, when you say phased out, if I'm not mistaken, you made the decision to back away a little bit in order to troll a little bit more. Is that correct?
There's definitely a little bit of that, but at the same time, it sort of seemed like Drew did a giant revamp of the Discord as a whole, sort of by himself, and what coincided that was I lost my ability to edit and make channels, so I kind of just assumed that I didn't really have anything to do anyways.
We'll yell at Drew later for that. That's not a problem.
It's all good.
It's safe to say Henskii originally streamlined our Discord to make it
much so
better.
Let's go, Henskii.
So
yes,
No problems.
Yes, very much appreciated. That Discord wouldn't be where it is today without you. Now, so first thing we want to do, obviously, is recap the matches from last week. We had a couple of key matchups when it comes to playoff battles. First one I want to touch on was actually Pitch Black for Stun GG. They're battling for the 4th spot in Division A. Pitch Black was able to take that 4-0. Did you guys get a chance to see that?
I personally, I didn't see the match, but from what I've seen from playing both of the players on those two teams, I'm sure there's definitely a pretty great competition for both sides.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, I didn't get to catch it either, but I mean, I'm just excited that these playoff races are close, because I was really afraid that the divisions are going to be so top heavy that there's just going to be 4 clear and away best teams. But good on Pitch Black for going and establish themselves in that 4th spot.
Absolutely. Reese?
I usually catch most matches, if not all. I missed a couple last week just because I was so busy with finals and everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad to see the competition definitely ramping up in both divisions, and I'm excited for playoffs to start.
Yeah, just kind of touching on that. Going into this week, there was 3 teams in Division A who could still make the playoffs on top of the 3 that already qualified, and there was 5 teams statistically. Some needed a lot of help, but there was 5 teams who could make the playoffs outside of the top 3. So there was 8 teams that technically still had a chance if everything went perfect for them. So yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. And then Division V, we had Team Sauce versus Vito 3. That was a big matchup for the stream, letting Sauce overtake Vito 3 and move into that 4th spot. Did you guys have any notes on that or get a chance to see that?
So when Vito 3 first started out, they started out 0-3, and I think they only had like one map win through their first 3 weeks or something like that. But then the 3 weeks after that, they just kind of steamrolled some opponents and went on a nice 3-game winning streak. I think that's the only team I've seen that like started out super slow and then just came back with a vengeance. But they went down to Team Sauce, and I don't think the what was the map count?
4-1.
It was 4-1. I don't think that reflects how the games actually went.
Yeah, they were a lot closer than the score reflected, except for I don't know, the S&D's Team Sauce just looked very clean. Yeah, so I got to play. I've already gotten to play both these teams, and yeah, like you were saying, Vito got off to a slow start because their first 3 games had to be Trojan, us, and then Maisha, and then Shu's Team Sauce started off 3-0, and then they had to play the same 3 teams, and so they ended up both playing a 3-3 record. But I don't know. Team Sauce just looked a lot cleaner. I guess their S&D was looking crisp, and I know when I played them, they looked really crisp in that game mode too. So maybe they can use that to propel themselves and maybe an upset in the playoffs. Who knows?
Well,
No,
what I saw is when Team Sauce was playing Avengers the other week, their S&D looked terrible.
Really?
I'm surprised.
Avengers, they're quite a good team. We were scrimming them the other day. They were playing us pretty close on a couple maps, so they're definitely going to be one of the teams to look at going into Season 2, I'd say. They kind of are just getting overshadowed right now, I feel like, because they inherited a pretty, not great record, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
No, absolutely. Yeah. For those of you at home who don't know, Avengers joined this, I want to say week 3, or I think it was actually week 4, and they took over a team that was 0-4, something along those lines. So they came in severely handicapped and kind of had to catch their footing along the way. But I think they're making some changes going into Season 2. And
R.I.P. Tally.
Yeah. So
I
think
Tally.
So I think, but from all of the things I've heard, their team is definitely improving from watching some scrims and stuff of that nature. So that'll lead us into this week. We have some big matchups on the schedule. I think
you forgot to mention the biggest matchup of last week.
Did I? What was that?
Oh my God!
Wow.
Heavy hitters. Just trying to be humble over here.
It was nice to get a win. I'll say that. It was nice to feel like I was competing on a map and not just being a bullet sponge.
Well, y'all weren't
able to win a map.
The hard points weren't even really that competitive. Y'all kind of steamrolled them.
No, yeah, we had some help. Coyote and U.S. Spirit, who's going to be part of that team going into Season 2, as I will be stepping away from that team to focus on coaching and just focus on XCal as a whole. They're making some pickups, and they should improve. Just from what I've seen, just playing with those guys, there should be an improvement. They should at least be competitive, more so than probably we were this season. But yeah, it was definitely nice to get that 4-0. Shout out to Optic, though. Those maps were still close, and it was definitely fun to play in a competitive matchup because we haven't gotten many of those this season.
The S&D went to round 11, right?
Yes, our S&D, payload S&D round 11, and I forget who had the clutch, but someone had to get someone won a 1v2, I think, to take it. So definitely clutched up there. And then we followed it up by playing this week's matchup and getting another map win. So we have 5 map wins on the season. So we lost 1 and 4. We lost 4-1, but we still got another map win.
Who did you get a map win against? I don't think I caught that stream.
Who do we play? DunGG? Is that right? Yeah, I think it was DunGG. Yeah, nice. we took the search and destroy off of them.
Nice.
Yep. Okay, so now we can move on to this week's matchups. This week's matchups, obviously the highlight, the main one, which I think when this goes live will have occurred yesterday. If this goes live on Thursday, the match is happening Wednesday. We have the 7-0 Average Joes taking on the 6-1 E Divided. I'm curious to get your guys' predictions. I know someone here has a lot more riding on it than the rest of us, but I'm curious to get your guys' predictions.
Yeah, so just for a little bit of context about that, I'm on E Divided, so that's definitely a big factor of emphasis. But at the same time, for next season, I'm teaming with 2 of the Average Joe's players, so I'm quite good friends with them. But As of for this week, I mean, for us, we're going to be bringing in a sub to play our ICR because unfortunately, Yum Twinkies and Croc are not able to make it. So we'll definitely see how that impacts our team. It'll be pretty interesting. Other than that, for Average Joes, I believe there's some sort of team-related drama going on last week. So regarding their match and sort of the behavior that was going on within the match. And so they might be bringing some subs in as well. Obviously, I can't speak on their behalf, but it may not be the normal rosters that you normally see those two teams having. So it's definitely sort of a toss-up, I guess you could say.
Yeah. But the key to that's going to be whatever Average Joe's brings to the table is probably what they're going to bring to the table come playoff time. So they'll have to work that out. And then for you guys, I know you're going to have one sub, but you know, you guys, this is basically your tune-up for the playoffs as well.
Basically. Mm-hmm. We were quite humbled by Frenzy the other week. They hit us with a very hot with a very dominating start to the first hard point. So that definitely sort of put us in our place a little bit, I guess you could say.
That isn't bad going into the playoffs, though. What about you, Reese? What do you see as an outsider looking in?
Yeah, like Henskii said, I knew that at least one of the teams regarding Average Joe's because it was going to have some roster issues of some sort, just regarding the drama that some of you might have seen in the Discord unfolding the other day. So regarding, Team Kim being messed up or them having to bring in subs, I knew that they wouldn't have their normal roster. Depending on who E Divided brings in as their ICR, which I'm not sure who it is, I honestly think that E Divided could either one of these teams could easily win this matchup. It just depends on who's playing better and who's playing better together.
Yep. No, absolutely. Cytrak, what are you thinking?
Well, first of all, Henskii, do you know who your sub's going to be yet?
We're looking at bringing in Icy Fries bots as our ICR, but
that's what I thought.
100%.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'm going to actually have to favor E Divided, possibly. But I mean, one of the things that kind of trips me up is watching that E Divided Frenzy match. And no offense to you, Henskii, I'm sure you noticed as well. The confidence in search was just extremely lacking. They just played.
Yeah. I would agree
on
with
offense.
That.
They played extremely passive and gave us so much map presence. It was kind of scary. And so I don't know. Maybe they'll have worked that out. But I mean, I think they just got shocked in map 1 on the hard point because I know they're a better hard point team than that. So I'm not really scared too much in respawns. But maybe search. I mean, obviously, Average Joe is using a lot of subs as well, and so search is just going to be kind of a, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna come out to whose subs perform better.
I'd say like for the current, I mean, unbiased perspective, of course. I'd say out of the current like starting rosters, individually the players lined up like reasonably well in terms of having both strong Sogs and Maddoxes on both teams. So definitely be interesting to see how it goes. Sort of a day-to-day kind of thing.
Is Wookie playing?
I believe so, yes.
All right, that's good.
When is this match taking place again?
Tomorrow, Wednesday at 9.
Believe it's going to be tomorrow at 9, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this is going to probably go live Thursday or Friday, though, so it'll have already taken place in the past. But
oh, nice.
We're shooting this on Tuesday for those wondering at home.
Those who are listening will just either see how smart or stupid we are right now.
yeah, and if you happen to miss it, which if you missed it, that's a problem, as you shouldn't miss any of our streams. But if you happen to miss it, you can obviously go to our Twitch channel and watch it back to kind of get an idea. So moving on, as we were talking about, there is 3 teams in Division B right now who all are trying to lay claim to that 4th spot. 2 of those teams will actually be facing off in Growers Not Showers versus Vito 3. Both of them are 5th and 6th respectively, looking up at Team Sauce, who Team Sauce is kind of locking down that 4th spot. But depending on how these last 2 weeks play out, can be caught. So what are you guys hoping to see from those 2 teams as we progress into that?
So I don't. Who does Team Sauce play again?
Team Sauce is actually going to be playing our new team. That's the other great matchup we're going to cover. They're going to be playing a new team to the league, Who took over for.
Who's on that squad?
That is an absolute brand new squad to me. I don't know who's on it.
So
On
if
the
Sauce let me find it.
the roster on the spreadsheet is the roster for it
Yeah,
updated because I know they're new. It looks like Empathy, CC Spud, Bullet Shot Siren, Doggo,
Oh no,
McWolf,
that's
and
the team
DK.
that got dropped.
Yeah,
Okay.
Empathy was Avengers.
Yeah. Okay. So who's on
Yeah.
who's on the season 2 rosters right now? And it is Me, Dynamite, Holy Horizon, Week 4 Cheeks, Unknown 123, and The Flip.
Yeah.
So out of that,
No clue.
it's that roster versus Team Sauce.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I personally think that Sauce is going to win that matchup. I think it'll be
Carried
fairly
by
even. It
Fat
won't be a
Shoes.
sweep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carried by Fat Shoes. It's going to be either a 4-2 or a 4-3. We'll see how it goes, though, obviously, on game day.
Yeah, I think I've gotten to play tens with some of those Who I Who kids. And, sorry, guys, I shouldn't say kids. That's disrespectful.
We're
I'll put
all
some kids in names. Those those men. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give the edge to Team Sauce as well, especially since I think personally from what I've seen, their S&D looks very clean, yeah, I mean playing respawns, I think Team Sauce also has the advantage. I mean, I could even see it going to a 4-0.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, Huayu did play their first matchup last week and did get 4-0'd, but obviously it was their first week in, and it was very last second. I don't have it in front of me. I'd have to pull up the spreadsheet to know for sure. I want to say it was
Trojan?
Was it Trojan?
Maybe.
Might have been Cortation's team.
It's
Is that
Avengers.
Trojan?
It was Avengers.
Oh, it was Avengers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is that. But what about the Growers Not Showers Veto 3 matches? That's going to be the other huge one because both those teams are coming in 5th and 6th trying to get to 4th.
I think if Team Sauce wins, who plays week 8 or week 9, the final matchup between those two teams, or Team Sauce for Team Sauce and all them.
Team Sauce plays Maisha.
Oh
yeah,
nope.
Yeah. Team Sauce plays Maisha, Veto 3 plays Who Why Who, and Growers Not Showers plays Trojan.
Oh, all right. Wow.
So there's 2 losses potentially if you're looking at records. Growers Not Showers and Team Sauce could possibly both take a loss in week 9. So Veto 3, if they were to win this week,
I have Growers playing absolute units, not Trojan.
Okay, unit. Yeah, you're right. Units. I'm sorry. Yeah, units. But still kind of. Yeah. So still kind of the same sort of matchup where they're going to be not favored for sure. But
Jezzy's team, absolute units, of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, don't get me started, bro.
young Coyotes team, I think.
Nice.
Oh, Samrock's squad, got it.
Oh, okay.
How about you guys though? Reese, who do you guys play this week?
Oh, this week we play Optic, and then next week we play Perplex, which is Surge's team.
Yeah.
So those will be some good matchups. I didn't get to play last week. Was the first matchup I missed actually.
No passion.
I was busy. Yeah. So I'm excited to come back and play again this week. Hopefully hand out a hot 4-0 as I am going to be coming out swinging. So.
Just saying, if you don't go 4-0 and we 4-0 them, that's going to be a problem.
We have K-Me.
Oh.
And, you don't. So you don't. So we're actually going to. They should honestly probably just forfeit before we even play because just Big Dog 189 is a force to be reckoned with.
Amen, Bordeaux. Amen.
How about you, Cytrak? Who do you guys play?
I'm trying to look it up real quick. Actually, I haven't talked to their. We play Burger Squad, so that might actually be.
So you get a. No, you get a.
Oh, it's.
You get a. You don't play anybody. You get a bye week.
Oh, you get a bye week. Yeah, Burger Squad unfortunately disbanded late last week, and due to the fact we're so near the end, we're just gonna kind of let it go for the last.
Sorry, that's
weeks.
what we were playing this week. Okay. Next week we play Growers Not Showers. Yeah.
Oh,
So we kind of talked about that a little bit.
Yep. All right. So last week I put Butu and Drew and Reese on the spot. I had them pick who they thought was going to be in the finals for the playoffs of season 1. So let's start with Henskii. Who do you see, if it were to end today, would be in the finals for season 1?
I would say as of right now, I think Frenzy and Absolute Units are going to make it to the finals because on, let's say, Division A side, I think Frenzy is the most coherent group of 5 players in the division in terms of, how they play as a team, how they push. All of them have been playing with each other for a really long time, and it definitely shows as you play them. They're always pushing things together, and they're hitting their shots as well, which is definitely important. So I definitely think they could contend pretty well in the finals. On the other side of the league, absolute units. Basically, I think the debate for Division B, I'd say, is between Units, Maishalong, and Trojan Gaming. Now, obviously, we know Units did beat Maishalong head-to-head. So, obviously, while COD is day-to-day, I would say that puts them ahead of Maisha, so to speak. And then for Trojan, I love the European guys, but at some point, once you start playing the better teams, the ping will get you once people start shooting back. And they've sort of been able to get away with it thus far because I think that their gun skill is just sort of above a couple of other people's or some of the other teams. However, they're sort of as you get, as you sort of go climb the ladder in terms of skill, playing EU to NA is definitely not an ideal condition. So I couldn't really see them making it to the finals once they get to the later rounds of the playoff bracket.
Yeah. No, I absolutely, I can definitely agree. And just to kind of touch base, I don't know if it's been officially announced, but I know it's behind the scenes. The tournament will be a double elimination 8-team bracket where the first set of matchups will be crossover matchups. So if you're in Division A, your first round matchup will be against a Division B team.
Okay.
And then losers, and then it's going to kind of shuffle around from there. Technically, the way it's drawn up, if the top seeds win every round, every matchup, you'll always play someone from the other division. So even in the losers bracket. So that was the goal going into it, just so mostly we could have as much parity and much difference, because obviously you've played everybody in your own division once already, so we're trying to give you as many matchups against other teams as we can. With that said, if someone were to pull an upset, then you'd probably have two Division B teams going at it, or who knows who comes out of losers to play the winners. But with that said, Cytrak, who do you have?
Well, so yeah, I've seen the bracket, and so I kind of was already thinking about this, and the way it would work out is, I guess I'm going to kind of give it away here, is that the top team from Division B would play the second seed team from Division B in the winners finals. And obviously, I think that's going to end up being Trojan and absolute units. And so I think whoever loses that match is going to go down to losers bracket, probably beat the team that goes to losers finals. And I think we're going to see a rematch. So I honestly think it's going to be us and Trojan. And just to give some points about why, I'm counting out maybe Average Joe's, E Divided, and Frenzy. First of all, I mean, we screamed these teams, and they're very talented. But I mean, I think we have a respawn edge on them, just because of playing more together, and just kind of having a more established team going into the league. And Frenzy, their main point is that they're good at search. They play search tournaments. They're very confident. So I mean, we've been trying to up in our S&D game. We've been playing GBs. We've been talking it over in our parties in our Discord, and we're just trying to get strats, and mostly we're just trying to play with confidence because we know that we have the gun skill, we know that we have the the head mentality, the ability to win these S&Ds, but we just aren't playing confidently because we haven't had enough time to play together. So I'm hoping by the time we get to playoffs, we'll be confident, we'll be ready, and we'll be able to get that done. So yeah, I mean, plus E Divided and Average Joe's, as we're talking about the rosters, they have to be against subs, and I'm just not sure how that's going to affect them. And maybe they'll be able to play more confidently, knowing that that kind of puts a little bit less pressure on them. So who knows? Maybe they'll be able to shock us and shock some other teams. And I'm not trying to sound, too I don't know, confident here, but I don't know. I just I'm trying to believe in my team, and I'll put ourselves on the line here.
Like it. Now, Reese, last week you had Average Joe's and Trojan Gaming in the finals. We had another set of weak matches.
Changing.
Isn't changing? That said
Average Joe's team Kim is chalked. All right, see ya.
Yeah.
So
you better hope that they're not listening to this.
We hope everyone listens to it.
Yeah, I don't care if you're on Average Joe's. Your team Kim chalked. So I think I might change it to. I think they can easily still do it if they could just get over themselves and play together. I think they could easily end up in the finals. But if they don't, I think as Cytrak said, it could end up being Trojan versus Absolute Units in the finals. But if I was going to pick one Division A team now, I would pick probably Frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
The interesting thing about Average Joe's is, I mean, basically, I'll just say it, like they were looking at picking up Moose as the sort of as someone who they're going to sub in for matches because two players don't really want to continue on with the league anymore, as we saw from last week's match. So that'll definitely also elevate their average skill level, I'd say.
No, absolutely. As Moose is part of the season, he's not part of season 1, but has already signed up for season 2, and he's a rather good ICR for sure in the league. With that said, looking at my picks from last week, I had Average Joes and Absolute Units. I kind of have to agree that I think just with the Average Joes, they're not going to have the timing down that they're going to need to take on these top teams. But actually, I'm going to go in a different direction. I think that E Divided could actually take this. I think they have some of the raw gun skill. They have some of the things that can catch other teams off guard. And if they're hot going into the playoffs, I think it could be E Divided versus Absolute Units in the finals.
Yeah, the one thing I'm scared about for most teams, honestly, and I'll just go ahead and hype them up a little bit, is just the IAR presence that Jesse provides that other teams just don't have. Because they're gonna have to veto around that. I'm gonna go and let teams know they're gonna have to veto around making sure that we can't just bring out our ICR and beam them. So I mean, I don't know. Teams need to start working on their ICR gameplay. So that's a notice. That's a notice to league.
Also, you better not be alone in Hill with 5 seconds left.
That's right. Sam's coming for you. Now, if we get Sam to play some GBs to think about S&D, this league is done. This league is done.
That's a big if. That's a big if, man.
That is a big if, man.
That is a big if.
I've been begging him for weeks, man.
That is Samrock's.
Y'all should see our Snapchat group. It's just me begging Sam to hop on and play some S&D, dude.
He's like, no chance. There's a hard point somewhere that has 5 seconds.
Personally, I've been not playing S&D for a while, and I've been trying to get into it some more. And I've always feel like it's always like some of you guys and like Nessie and whatnot, always in those lobbies playing GBS and D, just grinded it out. So I'm looking forward to see sort of how that affects your guys' game going forward.
Yeah, recently we've been getting into it. Yeah, we need to get confident, so we decided we were going to start playing S&D, and it's really been helping. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think a mistake that a lot of teams make is like everyone scrims so much, even like in our Discord, like I say when people are looking for scrims, they'll just scrim the 5 hardpoint maps and call it a day. But the reality is like in a I know we play best of 7, so the proportions are a little bit different.
Well, next season, that's 5.
But like, let's say, I know, I'm aware. But like, S&D counts just as much as hardpoint in any given series. Yeah, exactly. Especially with it being game 5 and sort of the defining factor of, so many series is definitely something important to practice that I think a lot of teams are sleeping on. And I think teams coming in from season 2 that are better at S&D and practice that more will find success solely because of that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's crazy how much they can change the series because suddenly you're feeling unconfident when you go into an S&D and you don't have any strats and you just get beat like 6-2, 6-1. And then, the rest of the series is kind of chalk when you get the mood broken down. And I mean, similarly, like Control, it's equally weighted to Hardpoint, but you don't see people practicing Control. And I know that came up with Maisha. They talked to us after they played us in Control, and they're like, wow, we hadn't really practiced Control, and we just realized that, this is a glaring weakness. And I'm like, yeah, it comes up to twice the series if you're going to go the distance. So, you got to practice it just as much as
exactly, especially in the best of 7 format. I'm surprised we don't see more people playing Controls.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And that's something kind of leads into the next topic, but also something I want to touch on individually. Next season, one thing that I think this league still lacks is a little bit of one. I think picks and bans, for the most part, when it comes to picking maps for your series, just kind of go off a personal preference of I don't like this map, so let's not play it, as opposed to my team's good on this map. Let's make sure we get it here, whether it be game 3 or game 5 or game 4. Let's try to manipulate the picks and bans to play to our strengths. And that's just a situation where I think right now of the 20 teams signed up, if I'm not mistaken, 5 or 6 have some type of coaching role to them. So that's something that if you have a decent coach, a coach should be able to know from practices and scrims, be like, all right, guys, this is what we need to try to play if we want to play our best maps. Also watching the opponents and say, look, you guys play. If your team's going to play against this team, you do not want to play them on this map because they're just too good. So picks and bans and then S&D strats are two things that every team in this league kind of needs to step up to the next level going forward.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, one of the things I kind of agree with that I think you see a lot in the CWL is like picking and banning. I don't know. I don't really see them doing it much to the opponent's like weaknesses, kind of like avoiding the opponent's strengths. You know what I'm saying? Instead, just trying to pick and ban to your own strengths, because it's kind of a hard game to try and just pick and try and choose like where you think your opponent is weak, and it's a lot easier to just know from your scrims where you're strong. And so I know for my team, like even if we were playing Trojan or Frenzy and I knew what their best map was, if I thought it was also our best map, you best believe I'm going to choose it, because at the end of the game you just have to believe in your guys. You have to believe that I mean, you're just gonna have to step up on that map that you know that you've performed well on in the past.
No, even then, I think what we actually saw reportedly from 100 Thieves from CWL London is there's even a third layer to it, in that you intentionally early on, like in a series, you pick your opponent's best map, get their confidence up, pick your best map second, and then, or however the vetoes work, like veto their best map second or something. And then just sort of give them a little bit of false confidence at the beginning, and then sort of shock them back and stop the momentum further going into the series. So definitely looking forward to see how teams utilize bans and map vetoes, things like that going into the future. I think more teams, especially with the addition of so many people like yours truly, AwesomeKing and Nessie, and people such as that stepping into the coaching role going into season 2. I think that we'll see more sophisticated picks and bans sort of the next time around, rather than simply saying, oh, we have good ARs, let's play all Arsenal and Hacienda, or we have 2 really good Slogs, let's just play all Seaside and Frequency. I think we'll see more variety than just that.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when you drop from a best of 7 down to a best of 5, picks and bans are that much more important. Best of 7, you're going to play most maps anyways, unless you're really not, unless you're really dedicated to banning just one particular map, you're going to play most of them. But when you go to best of 5s, there's 3 maps in Hardpoint you don't have to play if you do it right. So it's a matter of that. What's your feelings on that, Reese?
I agree that some people just don't play to their strengths. Sometimes I feel like people just pick maps to pick maps. I don't know. Like sometimes I see people just they're just oh, you ban this, well. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we'll just pick this one. I don't know. All right. I try whenever I used to pick maps for my team, and I would try and pick them strategically. And now Drew picks maps for my team. I don't see him picking them too strategically. I'm gonna be honest. I think definitely you need to be more strategic in the way you pick maps. playing to your strengths and your opponent's weaknesses if possible, but always play to your own strengths.
You know what's inexcusable?
I would say
is that every single time I've done picks and bans with someone, we've done S&D. First ban or second ban is payload S&D or frequency S&D. I'm like,
I like frequency S&D.
If you get any of these teams, if they get some strats down and they get good at it, and one of them gets through, the other teams can be lost because they haven't played it all season. So I'm just getting some intel out there.
I don't mind
good on payload, get good on frequency.
Personally, I don't mind payload. I know a lot of people don't like it, but
yeah.
No,
I personally, the fact that a lot of map vetoes and picks and things like that are just sort of really surface level, doesn't really surprise me, given the fact that probably for a majority of the teams in this league have never played in a circumstance where they've been able to do some sort of map veto and pick or something like that. Obviously with GB Premium, you can pick the first map of a best of 3, but that's really the furthest that probably any of us have ever sort of picked favorable maps for our teams or something like that. So it doesn't really surprise me that people aren't really that good at it at the start, to be honest.
No, absolutely. And just to kind of wrap up that point, just to kind of show how it's effective, my team, who obviously, we were 0-24, now we're 5-28 or something along those lines. When we played Average Joe's, I was doing picks and bans with Ethereal, and he was so used to every team immediately, because of how good their SOGs were, of banning frequency. And I let them play frequency, and it was probably the closest match we've had all season, and it was against a top-tier team, only because they were so used to not having to play it that they just were kind of lost on the map and I think it was Control that we let it go through, and they were kind of lost on the map, and it was a 3-2 win in their favor.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, if you were to say average Joe's with 100 dweebs in Control, you would think 3-0 easy. But we were able to kind of come at that with strats.
And y'all almost won that map.
And we did. We should have. We actually kind of choked away round 5.
If Lukey didn't spawn trap you win that map. Because y'all were up like 4 or 5 lives, and you just couldn't get out of this. And
I got trapped and spawned by Lukey, and I couldn't get out, and I had no one wrapping back to help me. Otherwise, we would have won that map, and that would have been our first map win. But that's just a key where I knew going in that no one was ever going to play those guys on frequency because they're so scared of the SOGs. And I said, well, let's just kind of shock them into it and see what happens. And it almost worked out. And in the same regard, our closest maps all season have been on Gridlock. And when we played Optic, we played Frequency, Hardpoint, and then we did back-to-back-to-back Gridlocks. And those 3 maps we were just dominant on because that's just the map we're good at. So if you can manipulate it right, you can definitely give yourself an edge even against teams that you shouldn't be competitive with.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on, we just had CWL London as we were talking about. And we will 100% be going. We're going to go over the results and all that shortly. But from a meta standpoint, there was a lot of new wrinkles and stuff thrown in from these pro teams going into it. Is there anything you guys saw watching the maps that kind of stood out to you, or something you're going to take back to your team, either in season 1 or season 2, just from a meta standpoint?
I'd say, the glaring one that we can all probably agree on is the introduction of the KN to the meta, obviously for the use of either ICR players on smaller maps or slower flex players on bigger maps. And while I do not like using the KN, the Maddox is my baby, but I think it's definitely the fact that we just have a 4-gun meta in the first place I think it's really great, honestly. In past Call of Duties, we've seen sort of these stale 2-gun metas, the BAL, the ASM1, the M8, the VMP, things like that. And I think that just the ability to viably run so many different guns is definitely, it's definitely interesting, I guess you could say, and definitely a unique part of this game. Other than that, though, this has sort of been inside of the so-called meta, I guess you could say, for a longer period of time. But just anchoring your ICRs inside the hill, as we saw at the 100 Thieves, they kind of just let Octane sit in the hill and watch a certain lane and kind of just fry everyone that runs by. Obviously, looking forward to seeing how more teams do that sort of thing going into the future of Season 2. Obviously, many teams don't have as, dominant ICRs as Jezzy, according to Cytrak. But, we'll definitely see how that plays out going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that meta change kind of happened where your ICR went from holding spawn to holding hill and having a Maddox hold spawn in that sense. So that meta did kind of rotate. What about you, Cytrak? What have you seen, or what did you see?
Well, first of all, shout out to Jezzy for influencing the pros to pick up the KN. He picked it up earlier than they did. So, good shout out to Jezzy. Good job, man. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me was just the resurgence of the SOG, because I feel like last event, SOGs just looked nasty, like absolutely trash. Their KDs, their damage output. You're just looking at the SOGs bothering every leaderboard. And then this event, they're just seeing a resurgence. And I feel like, there wasn't really a shift in the balancing of the guns too much, but it's more just like learning the positioning for SOGs. And once again, like you said, kind of figuring out how to adjust the ICR a little bit so that it's able to get the long range gunfights in hill and allow the SOGs to kind of push up and allow a little bit more pressure. So I think that's one of the things that stood out to me. And then also, obviously the S&D strats, just seeing all the new ones come out. And one of the things that really struck me was like a player like Simp. Just watching him every time he plays S&D, the man plays with so much confidence. I don't know, that's just really cool to see him fly around the map and just play with confidence. And I just kind of hope that my team can play with as much confidence.
Yeah.
What about you, Reese?
I don't really have too much to say on that that they haven't already said, but yeah, it's cool to see the KN, because we didn't really see it until we saw it a little bit. We saw that we saw the Rampart leave the meta completely just because of the FMJ2 ban, and they also did
also received a nerf as well.
Yeah, they also reduced damage on it. So we saw that completely just exit the meta completely, even though it helped. So a lot of people would say it carried LG to a win at Dallas. Yeah.
All right.
Cool to see.
Okay. With that said, going into CWL London, we had 100 Thieves take home the first championship of the season for them and their organization. What is your guys' thoughts on that?
You know, I think I always knew they could do it. Like going in, I guess. They're a very, very strong team and they're very talented. So it's cool to see them win. I like to see Nate Shot win. Just because they struggled so much.
Yeah, obviously.
Hold on. We're gonna pause right here just for a second to let the background music let the background.
Is that from my microphone? I apologize.
Yeah.
In a residence hall right now. Let me try to block it out as much as I can. All right.
We're gonna put Kyle's editing skills to the test here. All right. Go ahead, Henskii.
What was I going to say? Oh, just considering the fact that, for 100 Thieves, I'm just obviously really happy for them. Nate Shot's been probably, at least for a lot of us, the, biggest figure in Call of Duty that we've sort of seen. And that's where obviously a lot of 100 Thieves fan base comes from. And obviously, I don't know if you guys saw, but the whole thing with Drake on his Instagram story sort of congratulating the team for winning the event, that was also must have been a very surreal experience for them as well. I know there's a little bit of controversy with Kenny sort of trash talking the crowd, so to speak, as they were lifting the trophy at the very end. But I don't know. I think a lot of people just sort of read a little bit too far into it, and it's just some friendly banter at the end of the day. But definitely happy for the squad that they were able to pull out an event win in an era of Call of Duty where it's just so competitive, and probably 5 or 6 teams could take any event depending on what day of the week it is. So, definitely happy for them.
Yeah, no, and that thing he did was actually, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was in relation because Karma did that. I think he posted that on Twitter following their pool play matchup, where he kind of was telling Kenny, you talk a lot of trash, maybe it's time to shut up because we beat you. And then Kenny came back, and then the crowd kind of fed off of that onto Kenny, and then Kenny got the last laugh, of course. Cytrak, what about you?
Yeah, I was excited. That's just a team that knows the rules, and it was really awesome to see, even with all the memeing around him Enable and how he was playing. And I think he started off one frequency with going 6 and 22 or something disgusting. But just the whole team just knows how to play together, and it's so awesome to see and watch, especially since at any given map, any given game mode, they're competing. There's not a freebie anytime for them. And in their hardpoint game, holy cow, they stepped it up. They were 30-7 going into the grand finals or something on hardpoints. Absolutely insane to see. I guess I'm a little disappointed that EU or Optic wasn't able to meet up with them and have a competitive series with them, because I would have liked to see it stretch a little bit further. But with how 100T was playing, I feel like they deserved just to make this dominant statement of just running through the winners bracket and then making grand finals not look too difficult. And I just thought that was really really exciting to see that we have this team in Call of Duty right now that feels like they're asserting that they're the best team by far, and maybe that can grow a fan base, because I feel like one of the problems that's always been with competitive COD is just it's optic, and it's kind of annoying after a while just to see COD competitive's growth almost coinciding with how well Optic's doing. That's just kind of annoying. So it'd be really great to just have another team just to be able to rile just kind of surrounded with fans of their own, to hopefully allow the scene to grow even more and just have a little bit more steady viewership, a little bit more steady support and stuff like that.
I'd say the interesting point about that though is how long does it, because obviously we know the established Optic fans make up probably a majority of the fan base that watches these tournaments, I guess you could say. Just sort of looking at viewership numbers of when Optic's playing and when Optic's not. But really, how long does it go with one other team being that good, where until you get into a complexity Black Ops 2 situation where Optic fans, the vast majority of the COD fan base, they sort of start villainizing this one team, and how long does it go basically until 100 Thieves are sort of seen as maybe even the villains of Call of Duty right now?
Well, I think you kind of answered it earlier. They got that one player that no one can ever hate. It's Nate Shot. people still love Nate, and as long as his name is attached to 100T, I don't really see that happening too much. And I don't think Optic really has many things against him. I mean, Kenny was mean to a little bit, but then he stepped it up, so I can't meme him anymore. Slasher's just a true competitor. He's kind of like Aches on the team, honestly. And then Octane, I feel like everyone just respects a whole lot. And I don't know, Enable can't really hate, and Priesta, I mean, he's just God. You can't really hate him either.
It's true.
And shout out to their coach Crowder, because that team improved immensely when they brought him in. Finally, the last topic, as we're running out of time here, I wanted to touch base with you guys is we'd be remiss if we don't mention the end of that LG phase control. I'm sure everyone, even if you didn't see the match, has seen the Twitter clip and all that, where essentially what happened is FaZe is in the point in church on Seaside control. The game comes through with that the point was captured, and then they are grab slammed, killed both, and it gives the win to LG. Resulted in the crowd going nuts. It resulted in LG now probably being the bad guys of COD for probably a little while. Did you guys happen to see that, or what were your thoughts on it? And Reese, I'm going to start with you this time.
I mean, obviously everyone, I think most people say that FaZe should have won, just because, the point is, somebody brought up the point of like, if you defuse a bomb in S&D and then someone kills you right after, you still get the round win for defusing the bomb. So I think the same logic should apply to control. If you capture both points before you lose all your lives, then you should get the round win.
Yeah, I think the interesting point about it, so the same thing actually happened on the Sushi side control point on Gridlock earlier on in the event. However, the team that kept the zone actually won the round. So there's just sort of evidence right there within recent time that the other outcome is possible to, like the other outcome is possible, basically, in that the team that captures the control point yet dies after the point is captured wins the round. So I think that that's really where the majority of the controversy comes from, I guess you could say, because, I mean, I could be wrong, but from what I've seen, I don't think it's actually formally written anywhere that, like, basically the ruling for that, like in that situation, but it's not in writing where it says if the team that captures the zone, like, let's say, like, if a team captures the zone and then the people standing inside the zone are killed after it's captured, there's no real, like, fine print ruling, I guess in the handbooks or whatever, that states that the team that captures the zone is supposed to win. So, like, as a result, from like almost like a PR perspective, Treyarch kind of just has to say, like, the team that the game said won the round, like, won the round. I mean, we all know, obviously, that, like, that's kind of bullshit and FaZe should have won, and personally. But at the same time, like, if there's no real, like, formal written ruling of, what's supposed to happen in that scenario, you almost, like, can't really blame the developers for allowing or for the refs for, just following what the game says, just thinking about it from their perspective, especially now, even after the fact. If, like, let's say Treyarch in the newest update, patches that issue, then it's basically just sort of confirmed documentation that, the game's kind of just wasn't really working that well and produce inconsistent results, on a stage where so much money is on the line, which, given the fact that, the CWL is going towards franchising the $25 million slots, like, that sort of look just isn't really good. So it's definitely a very difficult situation they're in, and I can see where the refs are coming from, but at the same time, in my opinion, they should have overturned what happened, because the game's just producing inconsistent results based on what happened at the end of the round.
No, absolutely. Before we get to you, Cytrak, on that, just to touch on 2 points you just said there, it actually ended up causing FaZe $40,000 in prize money from where they finished at, as of where they would have finished. And the other point of that is a lot of people immediately in our Discord asked me, because I was in the Discord kind of interacting and stuff like that, what would our ruling be in XCal? And the one point that I made is, you have the game saying that this team won, and then you have the game saying that this team won, in the sense that this team captured, this team won the round.
But you just
replay round 5.
Yeah,
that was that would have been the ruling here.
Is it like actually written down anywhere though that, like, formally the team that captures the objectives, like, wins the round despite what the lives say? You know?
Yeah, I think
Like if,
I think we'd have to go like actually look into what the definition of control is because it's a new game mode
exactly.
and no one actually knows it. What was
Oh,
your thought,
great.
Cytrak?
Transition to me. Perfect. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, it is new and it's a new game mode and such. But let me just solve the solution for Treyarch, for Black Ops, for Call of Duty, for gaming in general. Let's take out control and replace it with a game where two teams have a flag per se, and each team is trying to capture the other team's flag by grabbing it and taking it to the other side. You know what? That sounds like a fun game mode to me. And you know what we could do for overtime is allow both sides to start on one side, and they'll have as much as like 5 minutes, let's say, to cap the flag. And we'll time it. We'll see how much time it takes, and then they'll flip sides, and the other team has to cap it faster than that. That sounds like a fair way to decide a tied game instead of seeing which team starts on defense gets to win the 5th round because defense is easier on some rounds or offense is easier. You know what? That sounds kind of smart to me. I don't know about you guys.
The thing about I feel like capture the flag in this game, I don't know how well
it would not
given
work.
the fact, given
No, I agree.
dexterity, stim shot, lightweight, grapple, all of those things.
Okay,
Yeah.
I concede it would not work in this game, but other games.
I've always sort of thought that what if Call of Duty hypothetically just had better competitive maps, so you could have 3 hard points in a series and just have it a diverse enough map pool that you don't play the same map twice.
No,
I always thought
absolutely.
that'd be an interesting thought.
No, absolutely, and I agree with that. And I think, unfortunately, World War II sort of ruined capture the flag because it was capture the flag, take it back to your base. Now let's watch everybody sit there for 4 minutes and see if they can break. And it just got to be so. And World War II, of course, was a slow game as it was, but I think it got ruined there. So they were trying to look for something new. They tried. It's a good mix. If done correctly, it's a good mix of respawn and search and destroy where you have that live matters, but it's unfortunately not going that well. But with that said, we're going to wrap things up here. The last thing I was going to go over, we did have our first ever Draft Buff Fantasy tournament for CWL London. So I did want to shout out the top 10 of the results. So at 10 came in with Suffocations, 9 was Ultramac, 8 was Coriolis, 7 was Epically White, 6 was Selection 8 Area. I don't know who that is in Discord. I did try to find out, but I wasn't able to. 5 was Captured Z. 4 was Fat Shoes.
Fat Shoes, come on.
Yep. 3 was Moose. 2 was Loud Station Pack, which I got confirmation was VBig. And then our winner for the XCal for the first CWL London was Henskii. So congratulations, Henskii.
Rigged.
Thank you.
Rigged.
I think the interesting thing about Draft Buff is the better you were. I mean, your team, like the best player, the people that would stand out, I guess you could say in terms of point output, would be very good players on teams that did not place very well in that. And that I only say that, and I'm going to use Donnie Temp as an example. Obviously, great player, team didn't place very well because if you're a great player and putting up great stats, but you get eliminated early, you're not playing those higher tier teams later on in the tournament. So as a whole, like throughout the entire tournament, your stats are going to be inflated a little bit relative to others. But yeah, I mean, definitely, it was a fun game though. I liked it. I think I went with Temp, Slasher, Dashy, Decimate, and Dylan Envoy. So, yeah, that was my team.
Absolutely. And that is something I believe they have it set up to where you can do it for like each week of league play. So I'm going to get in touch with Drew and try to continue that. So like for each week of league play going forward, you can make a fantasy team and we can keep doing these shout outs on our weekly podcast. With that said, though, I want to thank everybody, Cytrak, Henskii, Reese. Thank you guys for joining me. With that said, next week we're going to be switching it up. We're going to be having Drew, Butu. They will be joined by Fat Shoes and Zatu. So that'll be our.
It's a league play squad right there.
Yeah, that is the vibe. I believe we're entitling that episode Team Vibe. So that'll be your host for next week. With that said, I appreciate you guys once again, and look forward to talking to you guys in the future.
All right. Appreciate you having us. It was definitely a great time.
Yeah.